Welcome back to the FPL reaction stream, this time out of Gameweek 32, but we are still in the middle of Blank Gameweek 31. There is a game going on as we speak between Leeds and Brentford, and I've only got one player involved in that game in Igor Thiago, so we'll see how he ends up doing. I've also got a few players tomorrow, and that should be very interesting, but all eyes will be on the Carabao Cup final between Arsenal and Man City, which is why we have a Blank Gameweek in the first place. But quite a lot has happened today, and even in the first kickoff we had yesterday with my captain Bruno Fernandes getting 26 points, so 13 as his baseline score. Diogo Dalot as usual blanking, but a lot of disappointments across the board. Robert Sanchez with an absolute howler as Chelsea lost 3-0 against Everton. I'll be going through the bonus points as well very shortly, talking about the players who achieved defcon, the players who scored and assisted in each of these games. Van Dijk and Anderson both hit defcon, but Liverpool lost 2-1 against Brighton, and Ekitike was subbed off after 9 minutes due to an injury. He could be available fairly soon, and it looks like it's not a serious problem. He just had a dead leg, and that's very unfortunate for those that went for him. Like myself, I bought him last week for -4 hit, and it turned out to be absolutely calamitous. But the positive here is Harry Wilson, who's on course to get 2 bonus points and 9 overall, and I ended up captaining the right player, so to speak, in Bruno. João Pedro has also blanked, and I bought him in, last week, so that's another transfer that hasn't really gone according to plan, and it seems I was a bit late to the João Pedro party. On my bench, Dubravka was the only player who featured this week, and he got 2 points, but it was looking like a clean sheet potentially for Burnley until we reached the 60-minute mark, and that's where we got 4 goals in that Fulham versus Burnley game. Of course, those Man City and Arsenal players are all blanking, but I do have Gabriel, Semenyo, and Mark Gay for Gameweek 32 and beyond. I've got every chip available. The current plan is to activate the wildcard in 32, but I'm still open-minded about that, and it could be delayed until 35, but I have to say 32 is more likely. I also think that the bench boost will likely be used in 33 and the triple captain in Gameweek 36, depending on how the doubles land. For Blank Gameweek 34, I will almost certainly use the free hit chip, and that is my chip strategy for the rest of the season. And it can vary for some people, but I do recommend it for a lot of people watching, and some might not have one particular chip, like the wildcard, for example, which is the most powerful booster in the game. Be sure to drop a like on this video, even if you are watching on the playback, and for those watching live, welcome aboard. I do FPL and UCL fantasy videos, and I've been doing it for the past 6 years, and keep your eyes peeled for the Champions League, by the way. In a couple of weeks' time, the competition will return with the quarterfinals, and Matchday 13 will be delved into with the best Limitless and wildcard teams, my own team selection, and another deadline stream in the process. And for FPL, I do transfer tips, best wildcard squads, team selections, and also deadline streams. And early in the season, I was doing reaction streams as well quite regularly. So that is the plan to, do them as much as possible. And next season, especially at the beginning, that will be the aim, that's for sure. Man City are finished, says Everton finally doing something good for us. Well, it depends how you see it, but yeah, I originally had an Everton win, but for some reason I just thought, oh, come on, Chelsea surely have to get their act together and get a victory, but I was completely wrong about that one, and they've had a torrid week, obviously losing 8-2 on aggregate to Paris Saint-Germain, and even recently in the Premier League, a 1-0 loss at home to Newcastle. To lose 3-0 against Everton is quite damning, and I think sooner rather than later we could see Liam Rosenau under massive pressure. That's how football is, it's the nature of the beast, and things can change very quickly after he had a quite good start with the Arsenal games excluded, but that is just not good enough for him. Welcome, Restolen. Always a pleasure. Ekitike is a bust. Yes, the thing is with Ekitike, though, he probably will be available for Gameweek 32, but I've said this many times. I know he got injured today, which is quite unfortunate, but he's a very inconsistent FPL asset. And even in Champions League, I don't think he played particularly well against Galatasaray, but he got 6 points and scored in that 4-0 win. But I just don't think Ekitike is that great in the grand scheme of things, and those that went for Bowen instead, fair play, and that would definitely make part of the best wildcard squad which you're asking for. What I would tell you though is to wait for that wildcard video. I will build a squad today, of course, and I'm going to go for some different graphics and screens, which will also in turn answer some questions. But yeah, I'll do like a sort of quick wildcard squad now, but it can definitely be improved on with more thought analysis, seeing the games tomorrow, and yeah, I think even the Carabao Cup final could have a bearing Also, the FA Cup matches in a few weeks' time is going to be very important. So the winner of Man City or Liverpool, that's going to be very important for Double Game Week 33. So that's also worth having a look at. So that's definitely something I'd recommend. So let's go now to the FDR and have a sneak preview. We are approaching the end of the season because we can almost see Game Week 38 over the next 6 game weeks. But yeah, it's from 32 to 37. Man City are top. Arsenal, Liverpool, Crystal Palace and Leeds complete the top 5. And if we look near the bottom, Fulham, Tottenham Hotspur, Nottingham Forest, Burnley and Sunderland, even Man United are right down there. But Bruno Fernandes is worth keeping. With predicted points, Erling Haaland, Saka, Gabriel, Bruno Fernandes and Thiago are in the top 5. We'll see if Thiago can haul against Leeds tonight. Palmer, João Pedro, Rice, Semenyo and Mark Gay are in the top 10. In terms of suggested transfers, Fantasy Football Hub are saying Rodgers to Rice, who I just sold for Anthony Gordon. We'll see if that pays dividends over the next day or so. But I think Rice is definitely worth purchasing, especially if Arsenal double in 33, which looks quite likely at this moment in time. When it comes to price changes, we might not have any, at least for tonight, but over the coming days, the likes of Diouf, Schade, Stack, Troffer, Petrovic, Lamens, Mainu, Henderson, Alisson Becker and Coyote. Well, not Alisson Becker, he is injured now, so I think that progress bar will start decreasing quite quickly. In terms of price falls, though, we could see a few, like Lefay, Bruno Guimaraes, and Chawana, who was also highlighted yesterday. The same goes for Fabio Carvalho as well. I did go into this in the deadline stream, but it's worth having a look at the projections for the double and blank game mix, and this is courtesy of Ben Krellin. So for game week 33, the likely double game week will be for Arsenal and Newcastle. So the Gunners would face Man City away and Newcastle at home, whilst the Toon Army would face Bournemouth at home and Arsenal away. Meanwhile, Brighton would face Tottenham away and Chelsea at home, whilst the Blues would be up against Man United at home and Brighton away. The possible doubles include Man City and Crystal Palace, so the Citizens would face Arsenal at home and either Burnley away or Crystal Palace at home. Meanwhile, Crystal Palace would face West Ham at home and either Liverpool or Man City away. The alternative would be Liverpool, and that all depends on the FA Cup quarterfinals between Man City and Liverpool. So Liverpool would face either Everton away or Crystal Palace at home, and Burnley would face Nottingham Forest away and Man City at home. There are unlikely double game weeks also talked about here for Bournemouth, Leeds, Everton and West Ham. And for blank game week 34, the very likely blank game week would be for Arsenal, Newcastle, Brighton and Chelsea, which would then form part of double game week 33. Meanwhile, Man City and Crystal Palace would also likely blank in 34, but maybe not as probable as the other teams I just mentioned. Liverpool, Burnley would be the two alternatives. And this is quite unlikely, but once again, Bournemouth, Leeds, Everton, West Ham would be the other potential blankers, but they're not all going to happen at the same time. And the same goes for Game Week 33 with the double game weeks. There is a slight possibility of a 35 double for Man City and Crystal Palace, but it's more likely that it will take place in 36. So Man City would face Brentford at home and Crystal Palace at home. Meanwhile, the Eagles would face Everton at home and Man City away. And the alternative teams would be Liverpool and Aston Villa, who would then blank in 37, but that seems quite improbable at this moment in time. Let's now go to the top 10k captains. Bruno Fernandes is top by some distance with 71%. Wilson is second, and it looks like those in the top 10k have certainly hit the jackpot there. Gordon is third, we'll see how he gets on, but Ekitike is fourth, only 2.14% selection there, but that can be quite costly in their quest to finish in the top 10k. João Pedro completes the top 5, but as you can see, a lot of these players have disappointed already. Igor Thiago could be an interesting one. I mean, Erling Haaland's in that conversation, but we all know he isn't going to play this weekend. He does feature in the Carabao Cup final tomorrow, but yeah, Fernandes and Wilson, I've been very consistent on that from the beginning. They were my top 2 options, with Bruno being number 1, and I'm very happy I captained him. He arguably could have had another penalty, but the assist itself was quite fortuitous. Let's actually build a wildcard squad now, a very quick one, and it might be similar to what I discussed in my recent wildcard video. One thing I can tell you is that Robert Sanchez will not be in this team. Even if Chelsea double in 33, I couldn't care less. He is not going to be there. David Raya would be my main goalkeeper for me. Gabriel would stay. And Van Dijk has been quite underwhelming recently since I bought him in, but I think he also retains his spot. Diogo Dalot is just a terrible FPL asset, so I would have no qualms about selling him. And this is where we could go for a Man City defender, and I wouldn't really pick Mark Gay at the moment, so Nico O'Reilly could take this place. I think with the other defenders, Cash would also enter the equation, but I'm not particularly fussed about that. One of Senesi or Hill, despite the own goal he scored against Manchester United. But I think with the last defender, it does become a little bit difficult, and that's where the projections, of course, would be very important in terms of the doubles and blanks, which we just went through, of course. So I'm going to focus on the areas where I'm quite sure about. So up front, I'd get rid of Ekitike. Likely for Jarrod Bowen here. There is a case to go for Erling Haaland, and that would require a restructure elsewhere. I agree with Fantasy Football Hub. I think Rodgers to Rice would be a very good move, and I would recommend a double or triple up in the Arsenal team. Bruno Fernandes would 100% stay in, and he'd likely be the captain. There's even a case to keep Harry Wilson, despite facing Liverpool and Brentford away over the next 2 game weeks, and Fulham will likely not double again this season. They're not going to double, it looks like. So, yeah, I think with Harry Wilson, there is a case to maybe sell him instead. I think looking at this, to be fair, and I said this in my recent video, the other defender would likely be Van Heck. But I just don't like Brighton defensively. It is Burnley away, of course, in 32, so that could work fairly well when you start him over Nico O'Reilly. I think City will beat Chelsea, considering how Chelsea have played recently, but I don't think City keep a clean sheet, although I could be wrong about that. I would keep Antoine Semenyo, though. Anthony Gordon, I'm not really sure. That was mainly a 1-week punt, which I discussed in my recent Transfers video. But of course, the double in 33 does look likely, and that's where Gordon could appeal. The other defender I would look at is Chow, which I also talked about in my best wildcard team, and he could replace Nico O'Reilly. So I think it's probably a toss-up between those two. If not, we might go for Chow over Hill. That could be the alternative. And I think Captain Bruno, Vice-Captain Thiago. Now it's just a question of, do we upgrade Harry Wilson? 8.4 million in terms of budget for my situation. I think some people will have even more at their disposal. Yeah, I'm not particularly impressed with these choices. I mean, Munoz could be there for O'Reilly. Maybe a Crystal Palace option in general, like Ismail Assar, but it's not looking particularly great. So I think looking at this, I'd probably... Yeah, and like I said, a lot will change based on the FA Cup results. If Liverpool end up doubling, I'd probably add Szoboszlai in there over Harry Wilson. That'd be another option for you. And to be fair, he could make it into this team regardless. And he's in my UCL fantasy team. He's definitely going to be in there without any shadow of a doubt. So that'll be a sort of rough wildcard squad. But like I said, there are still details to iron out. And I think a lot of you would still want Erling Haaland, especially if you're looking to triple captain him for a potential double in 36. And they could still double in 33 as well. With FPL Challenge, it's not looking particularly great, but I've got Kelleher featuring right now. A clean sheet would be very handy, but 47 points, mainly carried by Bruno Fernandes, who was my captain here as well. 38 overall, so 19 points baseline score. Harry Wilson with 7, and this week it is called Creativity, so plus 6 points are awarded for players who create 3 or more chances. I've also got Chow facing Sunderland at home. Newcastle were the only team I projected to keep a clean sheet, but obviously we saw Everton keep one against Chelsea in a 3-0 win, so the João Pedro pick was an absolute flop. And Morgan Rodgers against West Ham, despite Aston Villa really struggling in recent weeks. So that kind of covers everything. You can also see my scoreline predictions to laugh at how poor some of them have been. I was actually very close as well to going for Brighton 2, Liverpool 1, but I ended up changing it. So that was a mistake of mine. I went for Bournemouth 1, Man United 2. That ended up being a 2-2 draw. Fulham 3, Burnley 2. Not a bad prediction. It was 3-1 to Fulham in the end. But yeah, Chelsea, I had an absolute howler, and I should have stuck with my original prediction. Meanwhile, for Leeds Brentford, I've gone for 1-1. We'll see how that ends up going. But yeah, at the moment, it is goalless. Newcastle 2, Sunderland 0 for tomorrow. Aston Villa 3, West Ham 1, and Tottenham 1, Nottingham Forest 1. Let me know your scoreline predictions in the comment section. And let's go back to my squad as well in just a few seconds. And for FPL Challenge, yes, I'm up to 48 points with Kelleher currently on 1, but that's not really anything to write home about. What I'll probably do next, actually, is go through defcon. I think that's a good thing to do right now. So let's start off with that 2-2 draw between Bournemouth and Man United. The goals were scored by Christie, Krupi Jr. and Bruno Fernandes. 2 penalties, of course, in that game, and an own goal by James Hill. The assists were from Troffer, Ivanoson, Bruno Fernandes and Cunha, who won the penalty. In terms of defcon, well, actually bonus points, Bruno Fernandes got maximum, as usual. Christie with 2 and Cunha with 1. Defensive contributions were given to Maguire, and that's it. He was the only player to get defcon in that game, and he was also sent off. For Brighton 2, Liverpool 1, Welbeck scored a brace, and Kerkez scored a very neat goal. He was definitely alert there, pouncing on Dunk's mistake. In terms of assists, Hinshelwood and Gomez there for Brighton. Meanwhile, Verbruggen and Mamadashvili both made 4 saves, and the bonus points went to Welbeck, Gravenberch, and Curtis Jones. For defcon, Gomez, Van Heck, Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones, Van Dijk all got them, so quite a lot there in that particular match. For Fulham 3, Burnley 1, Wilson, King, and Raul Jimenez scored the goals for the home side, and Fleming opened the scoring in general, but it wasn't enough there for Burnley. The assist for Sandenberg, King, and Foster. Leno made 4 saves here, Dubravka made 3, and the bonus points went to King, who picks up maximum, Wilson with 2, and Fleming with 1. In terms of defcon, Joachim Andersen was the only player in this game. And finally, in Everton's 3-0 win over Chelsea, Beto scored a brace, Ndai scored a peach of a finish there, top right-hand corner, absolutely unsavable. And obviously Robert Sanchez had another howler there. The assist went to Idrissa Gana Gueye, Ghana, and Beto, who had a masterclass. And yeah, Sanchez made 5 saves, Pickford made 4, but I just wish I didn't have Sanchez. He had some good moments this season, but I've had him since Game Week 1, and there's been more pain than success, let's put it that way. With bonus points, Beto gets 3, and there is no hesitation about that. He was by far the best player. Ndai got 2, and Mikalenko with 1. defcon was delivered, or at least earned, by the likes of Idrissa Gana Gueye, Keane, and Wesley Fofana. And now we'll see what happens in the Leeds-Brentford game, of course, that's happening as we speak. So let's now go to my FPL squad. And let's see what people are saying. Do you think Matty Cash will play tomorrow, Dylan? Yes, he is in my predicted lineup. I can go through them, actually. And I did get quite a few of them spot on so far this week. But yeah, for Aston Villa, I can't guarantee it, but I think he will start. I've seen 1 or 2 predicted lineups for Villa that include Bogard at right back, but I think Cash will be in the starting 11. Good to see you there. Haaland, Ekitike, Thiago, Bruno, Mbeumo, Wilson, Rice, Anderson, front 8, all chips left. What should be my strategy with the chips? Yeah, so I don't know your defensive line. That would also play a big part. The same goes for your goalkeeper, but yeah, it's going to be wildcard 32, probably bench boost in 33, free hit 34, and triple captain 36. That looks the best at the moment. Yeah, Dango is a frustrating FPL asset. I've never been on board with it. And when he was getting a bit of traction, I talked about skipping him. And he will have his moments, of course. He might even score off the bench today, but I just don't really back him in Fantasy Premier League. And I just don't like it when a player has insecure minutes there. Thank you very much. And I do appreciate all the subscribers, commenters, and likers. Let's try to get this stream to over 100 likes. It'd be greatly appreciated. And let's keep on pushing towards new goals, because 39,000 subscribers is on the horizon. Verbruggen, Dubravka, Gabriel, Kadioglu, Guehi, Chow, Richards, Bruno, Gordon, Sarr, Semenyo, Enzo, or Rice, Haaland, Welbeck, João Pedro, Gemic Free, Bruno to Wirtz, or Szoboszlai. I wouldn't sell Bruno, to be honest, even if he doesn't double in 33, which, yeah, he's not going to double, and he's facing Chelsea away. But the way that the Blues are playing right now, I think Bruno Fernandes could get a massive haul against them. So I get the appeal of Wirtz and Szoboszlai, especially with the Hungarian. He can get defcon, bonus points, and he's got many routes to get some returns, but I wouldn't sell Bruno. But yeah, it sounds like a good plan on paper. Gameweek 33, 15 players to bench boost. So yeah, to have 15 doublers would be very enticing, but I just don't think it's worth selling Bruno. I'd rather have 14 doublers than him compared to the Liverpool midfielders you mentioned. That's also a sort of long-term play. Unless you're wildcarding in 34, which for me is very awkward, I wouldn't recommend that. Or 35, but yeah, I'd still stick with Bruno. Good team overall. I'm just a bit unsure about double Brighton defence, Verbruggen and Kadioglu. I think one's enough. I know it's Burnley away next week, but long-term, I wouldn't recommend that. And you've got Welbeck. If you had him before today, then fair play, because that was a very handy brace there. I recommend Saliba instead of O'Reilly and Szoboszlai for Rice. Yeah, that could be a shout. I did go for Szoboszlai in the end to replace Harry Wilson. So triple Arsenal defence is interesting. I'd probably go for 2, but I wouldn't discourage people from going for a triple up. Bowen, Pedro or Welbeck as the third forward. It's still going to be Pedro for me, but he has been very disappointing over the last 2 game weeks. And if you count the Champions League, that's 4 matches in a row where he hasn't scored or assisted. And Bowen has been consistent. Obviously, Welbeck scored the brace today. He's going to get a lot of attention, but I still think Pedro, Bowen, Haaland, and Thiago are better forwards than Welbeck from now until the end of the season. Which team to target if I'm wildcarding in 35? Well, I think the wildcard squad I just showed you would be very telling. So I would stick with a lot of those squads. If we go back to that now, that would include Arsenal. I double or triple up on them. Possibly Liverpool, but it's more likely that City will go through in the FA Cup. They have the home advantage, and they have beaten Liverpool twice this season. But anything can happen in the Cup, and City, well, they have their moments, especially defensively, but those are the teams I'd look at. Maybe 1 or 2 Brighton assets, but not a double up in their defence, as I've seen a few people obviously talk about. That's something else, by the way. Instead of Bowen, who probably won't double in 33, you could go for Welbeck, at least in the short term. But after 33, I would make that switch and go to Jarrod Bowen in the forward line. But obviously with Welbeck's brace today, he's going to attract attention. I'm still not completely convinced, but obviously if we look at Gameweek 33, you could have this sort of structure, which looks very enticing, as you can see. But yeah, in terms of finding a way to get Erling Haaland, and I wouldn't really force it in because he hasn't really been delivering recently, but this looks very enticing. And if you were to bench your single game week players here, it still looks quite good. You've got Szoboszlai and Van Dijk away to Everton, and then Thiago at home to Fulham. That looks very good. You can captain João Pedro, although his recent form is a bit concerning. And yeah, that's a very decent wildcard team. I don't mind it too much. I think it's quite promising. And I will talk more about this during the international break with more information. And especially as we approach the Gameweek 32 deadline, we'll have the FA Cup results by then. That's going to have a massive impact on Blank Gameweek 34. And as a consequence, the team's doubling in 33. So that could also work as well. But yeah, that's a decent foundation there. And these are the teams that I'd be piling up on. With Chelsea, probably not. I'd still go for João Pedro, possibly one other player, but defensively, not for me. He's better a good punt. I mean, he's got a double and a brace. He got a double and an assist against Chelsea. A very good performance, but yeah, it's a bit like Welbeck. It's mainly for the double, right? It's not because of him being a quality FPL asset, if you will. If you were to maybe fit in an Everton midfielder or player, I mean, this is the thing, right? Based on the projections, I'm not sure if Everton double in 33, and I went through that earlier. It's possible, but it's not completely set in stone. I also like Ghana, of course, Elliot Anderson. That could be quite interesting, but yeah. Based on these projections, if we look at Gameweek 33, so they would expect Arsenal, Brighton, Burnley, Chelsea, Man City and Newcastle to double. And then in 36, maybe Palace and Man City. So yeah, if that ends up happening, I think triple captain Haaland could be the way to go. But then how do we get him in? That would be the other question. So it would require something a bit drastic here, and maybe even doing Thiago or João Pedro to Erling Haaland. So I think in this case, I'd go for Thiago out. Just makes it a bit more accessible, but as you can see, I'm still struggling a little bit. Van Dijk to Hill could also work, although it's not really great. He's also facing Newcastle away. And I'm still a few million over budget, so I would really be forcing this in. Szoboszlai to Anderson would help, but it's still not enough. So to get in Erling Haaland is going to be quite a task, actually. From my perspective, it's going to be easier for other people. But yeah, that doesn't look particularly great. But even this sort of bench, by the way, would look quite good. And some of you can afford this. I can't, though, with my budget, which is quite tragic, to say the least. In terms of finding a way to make this work, it might even require selling Rice, actually. That's something I would consider. João Pedro's recent form isn't great. David Raya, I'd still keep him, to be fair. But yeah, bringing in Erling Haaland is quite a challenge with my budget, as you can see. So that's something I'm going to have to sort of play around with as we approach the Gameweek 32 deadline. Because my plan is to wildcard. Yeah, I'm doing that right now, of course. But yeah, with my current budget, it's just not doable. But like I said, a few people watching will be able to afford this exact 15-man squad. Weising says 28 points, another red arrow, rip. Yeah, very frustrating, and FPL has been a roller coaster this season. I thought I was getting somewhere in November and December, but it just turned out to be short-lived because after that, it was just a yo-yo. And just when I was making progress, it ends up kind of going backwards, and it was, yeah, just very frustrating. This season has been quite a mess, and if I can finish top 100k, I'll take that for sure, and try to build upon that for next season. Also about Wildcard 33, if the team looks okay for 32, still all chips left, plus 5 free transfers. Yeah, that can also work as well, if you're happy with your 32 team, which, to be fair, from what I've seen across different platforms, I think a lot of people have a solid foundation for Gameweek 32, so the wildcard isn't completely necessary for the upcoming deadline, and we have a few weeks there. It's always awkward to wildcard during an international break. I'm quite worried about that. So, yeah, I think with the sort of balance between 33 and 34, that's always the challenge. So wildcarding 33, free of 34 can definitely work for you because you'd still want a lot of those assets for the rest of the season, really. And that includes Gameweek 35, a potential double in 36 for Man City and Crystal Palace. So, yeah, I think that works as well. I don't think you have to use it in 32. Can't escape 2 million, says Weising. Well, I can't, but others can. Oh, you're talking about the rank. I thought you were talking about the budget. Yeah, that's very frustrating. You can still make some massive rank rises, of course. The fact we've got doubles and blanks will help you. And even this week seems a bit swingy. At the moment, I've got a green arrow of around 100,000 places, which is quite surprising, but I would expect to be pegged back a little bit after tomorrow's matches. I've only got a few players left, including Igor Thiago right now. If we go back to my FPL squad. So my remaining players are Anthony Gordon against Sunderland at home and Rodgers facing West Ham. So returns from both of them would be much welcome. Even the template Igor Thiago. Yeah, the more returns, the merrier. I've already got my Campsey Hall secured, so I just want some points across the board. I think out of these 3 remaining players I've got, I will get something, but it's never a guarantee. And we saw quite a lot of frustrations with Diogo Dalot, which is kind of to be expected. Sanchez is a terrible FPL pick. Van Dijk has been poor since I brought him in. And Joachim Andersen, I'm not going to complain too much. 4 points despite conceding, and he's been quite good for me whenever I've started him. But João Pedro and Ekitike, I got them both in for a -4 hit last week, and yeah, let's not even talk about that. I would have rather kept Erling Haaland at this point. Keep Anderson versus Burnley in 33 or bring a double Gameweek player. Depends on the double Gameweek player you can bring in. If it's Declan Rice, for example, I'd bring in Declan Rice, but it's all about that quality, right? Yeah, if it's not going to be one of those midfielders I highlighted in the wildcard team you just saw, I'd arguably just keep Anderson. So that's what it really comes down to. Quality is always so important, and it's not just about how many W's you've got, which is always a plus, and it gives you a great chance to score massive points, but I think a player like Anderson is also a set and forget option until the end of the campaign, which is getting ever closer now. After this international break, we're going to get to April, and the end will be in sight for both FPL and UCL Fantasy this season, but I'll be there every step of the way helping you with your decisions. I'm also going to put the game on, by the way, and do a bit of like a watch-along, if you will, which I haven't really done before. Kind of awkward or maybe strange that I'm doing it for this particular game. But if you haven't done so already, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Click the hype button. I'm actually going to get another device to watch the game. I think that's going to be even better. And yeah, share this with those that love FPL and UCL Fantasy. There's my Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, DylanRCM. Check the Discord server, the FPL and FPL Challenge Leagues, Spotify. Leave a 5-star review on that platform and follow me on Spotify. That'd be greatly appreciated. And if you want early access to my videos, prior to comments, and many other perks, then go to patreon.com/FPL Dylan or click the join button on YouTube. That would also be massively appreciated. So let me get the game up, and yeah, I'll be with you very shortly. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, I'm here. So, going to the FPL squad again. I mean, it's not looking particularly great, nothing spectacular, but a green arrow is a green arrow, of course. So I'm not going to complain too much. So let's see if I can get this game up. It can be quite a challenge sometimes. So... what the blood clot? Yeah. Can be very strange, to be fair. Is Thiago playing centre-back today? He might as well. He might as well. And he has been a very poor FPL asset since I bought him in. He did very well for me on the free hit, and that was like back in Gameweek 13 or something. But as soon as I bought him, he has been an absolute disaster. I think the first week that I bought him, I captained him against Wolves away. And yeah, the less said about that, the better. But yeah, looking at his heat map, one of the areas where he has been most active is actually in his own penalty box, which is quite interesting. That does play into your narrative about him playing as a centre-back. So yeah, you got Thiago. We'll see if he can do something. I'll take 1 goal, and any bonus points would be more than welcome, but I'm not really expecting it. In my scoreline prediction, I went for 1-1, so I am anticipating a draw, but yeah, so far not great. Then again, we got a lot of goals in the Fulham-Burnley game when it was goalless at half-time, so it's still early days, right, but not ideal, especially when you have a forward involved in that match. But this could be good news for Keller owners. He's currently in my FPL Challenge squad, and he's already looking pretty sharp at the moment. He's got 2 saves, so we could be looking at a 7-pointer if he ends up keeping the clean sheet. Only time will tell. Maybe bonus points will also be on the horizon. So striker's just been booked. Oh, I'll take that. Not Strout getting booked, by the way. I'm just talking about actually seeing the game, which is nice. Very nice. What is this? Bomber Club. Okay. So yeah, I've got the game on as well. We'll see what happens there, but I'm not really expecting anything. 6 defcon. I'll be there for the 12 by Thiago. He's got 6 defcon. Let me have a look. Let me have a look. I mean, I believe you. It's just, that sounds crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't expect it. I mean, it can cause confusion, by the way, because midfielders and forwards need to get 12 defensive actions to secure defcon, whilst defenders only need 10. I think it should be the same for everybody. Make it 10 for all, or make it 12 for all, but yeah, he still has a long way to go, but if he continues at this rate, yeah, you would think he gets it. So we could see quite a lot of defcon in this game. Henderson, Jensen, both on 7. Ampadu, Pinnock, and Thiago on 6. Bjor's on 5. That's incredible. And currently Kelleher is leading the bonus points race when it comes to Brentford players, but Strauch, well, he was ahead before that yellow card, so I think Kelleher might have taken the lead, actually. Oh my god, this is not looking particularly great. Yeah, I'm not too optimistic, actually, about Igor Thiago. He's on 7. You said, right? I think you said 7, so I've just refreshed it. Thiago, wow. I mean, I'll take that. Look, if he doesn't score, at least give me defcon. I mean, give me something. The more the merrier. It is crazy. I didn't expect this. A very good point there by Morsan, but FPL is just a madness. That's one good addition of the game this season. Defensive contributions, but yeah, it doesn't always save you. Van Dijk, Gabriel, Hill, Chow, Anderson with Dubravka and Verbruggen in the defensive line. What changes would you do here? Possibly add a second Arsenal defender or Raya in goal. I know it's not really something you want to do, but even Verbruggen to Raya could be a decent move on paper. I wouldn't really mind that so much. So yeah. Bloody yeah. I moved that so much. Yeah. You obviously saw my wildcard team earlier, right? I'm probably just going to leave that on for a little bit longer, but yeah, this will definitely be refined in future videos, and ultimately, I can't even afford this myself, but that speaks volumes about how poor my squad value is at the moment. I think having a Burnley defender is fine. Obviously, you've got Verbruggen for that. You could even do something a bit different and add a second Arsenal defender. But, yeah, I think Raya is a significantly better option than Verbruggen, and Arsenal will keep many more clean sheets. But I'd go for something like this. Thoughts on the final tomorrow? Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an interesting game. Arsenal are the slight favourites, I would say, but a final's a final. Man City have a great record at Wembley, so do Arsenal. They have faced each other, what, 3 times over the past 7 years? Carabao Cup final, obviously City won it, but then the Community Shield, Arsenal got the win on penalties, and the FA Cup semi-final between Pep and Arteta. And hopefully Arteta keeps on his 100% win record at Wembley as both a player and manager. I think it's 10 wins out of 10 or something like that. Well, whatever it is, hopefully he wins tomorrow. That's the most important thing for the time being. Welcome, Banjo. Good to see you, and hopefully you're having a good week, not just FPL-wise, but yeah, at the moment, I can't complain too much, despite Ekitike's injury, which isn't too serious, but yeah, he's been an absolute troll and a very poor FPL transfer. Just like Joao Pedro, yeah, buying both of them in last week for a hit has been, yeah, just frustrating beyond belief. I sold Erling Haaland in the process. Luckily, he blanked against West Ham, but I probably want him back, which is where the wild card can come into play, that's for sure. But yeah, this game is a bit boring, I'm not going to lie. People say this about a lot of Premier League games this season, but yeah, a lot of set pieces I'm seeing here. Igor Thiago, defcon. I mean, if that's the highlight of the match, then, well, we might as well sign off right now. So yeah, promising attack here, but well, I say promising, it's just a ball lumped forward. I'm kind of scraping down the bottom of a barrel here when it comes to this. And Lewis Potter loses it, and it's a goal kick. Wow, that is amazing play. Jesus. That is quite tragic. I don't know what's worse, my FPL performance or this match. Let me know. Let's do a poll, and we can vote. Jesus, this is not looking good. It's almost half-time as well. So, yeah, what can we say? What can we say? We do have only 3 matches tomorrow, of course, to complete Blank Gameweek 31, and an international break where people asked me yesterday, what do I do? Well, there's a lot of things you can do besides watching football, especially football like this, which is not great, but hey, Brentford have had a good season. Leeds have been solid at Ellen Road. I'm not going to diss them too much. Yeah, it is a pretty poor match at the moment. I mean, a bit of excitement, some goals would be nice, but I think, yeah, it's not just this season, by the way. I've said this even in the previous campaign, the Premier League, and a lot of the matches are a bit more closed, maybe more competitive. The gap between the bottom and top teams is sort of lessening, which is a good thing, but I think the quality has definitely taken a hit in the last couple of years, and we're seeing that more often. But yeah, Igor Thiago, wow. I'm going to have to do like a watch in terms of like his defensive contributions. Is he on 8 now? Probably not. Yeah, getting a bit too excited. He's on 7 still. Just 5 more. Come on. If you're not going to score, 5 more defcon. Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Is this what we're really coming down to? So at the moment, 2 bookings for Bogu and Strauch. Darlow and Kelleher on 2 saves. And when it comes to bonus points, Darlow and Lewis Potter on 10. So they're leading. Kelleher is next up on 9. Then Biol and Pinnock on 8. Wow, that is horrendous. I'll be honest, I hope Leeds score. I don't want a Kelleher clean sheet, to be fair. He is still quite decent in terms of effective ownership, and that won't be good for my rank. It will take a bit of a tumble, especially if Thiago doesn't secure that much eagerly anticipated defcon. Oh, God almighty, what are we looking at here? Injury-free cup final, please, or we all need help. Yeah, hopefully we get a good game of football. I think Arsenal City tends to be quite interesting, even from a tactical perspective. A lot of draws over the last 5 matches. Arsenal are unbeaten in that spell. Obviously, 5-1 win in between, but yeah, I just don't expect that to happen anytime soon. I know Man City have their defensive woes, but yeah, in a cup final, anything can happen. Both of them have great records in finals, Pep Guardiola and Arteta, but yeah, very difficult game to call overall, in my opinion, despite Arsenal being the slight favourites, in my opinion. But I wonder what people think in the live chat. Who do you think is going to win between Arsenal and Man City? Yeah, the Carabao Cup could be quite important psychologically, even if it is the least important of the 4 trophies. I want Arsenal to win all of them. So, yeah, we'll see if they can get the job done tomorrow. And if they do, the quadruple's on. Still quite difficult to attain all of them at the same time. The Champions League is going to be very tough in particular. But yeah, every single game is going to be just massive for Arsenal from now until the end of the season. And Man City are, well, already out of the equation for the quadruple after the Champions League exit. And yeah, next up is going to be obviously the Carabao Cup final. They can still win a treble. Oh, thank you, Vu. That's not what I want to hear, but it's your opinion. You're completely entitled to that. Yeah, I'm hoping that Arsenal can get the job done. In terms of scoreline, I'm not sure exactly what it could be. I mean, even extra time and penalties could be a factor, and that could be a bit nerve-wracking for both fans. So yeah, that's not really what I want, but it's sometimes needed to win a final. Just look at Argentina-France, and that was one of the most stressful moments of my life, but also a very beautiful moment in the end. Yeah, it's getting that deep that I'm still looking at Thiago's defcon. I shouldn't have... yeah, I got excited when I saw he had 7, but now he's still stuck on it. And we are approaching half-time. And dear, oh dear, this is not looking good. That's going to be another goal kick, this time for Brentford. Wow. More goal kicks than actual shots on target. I mean, to be fair, that isn't really an uncommon thing, but that's all I'm seeing in this game right now. Yeah, only, what, 1.5 minutes left until half-time? Probably less at this point. Dear, oh dear. This is not looking good. $54 points and Thiago and Chow left to play. Green arrow so far. Yeah, that's a good score in the context of this week. And yeah, green arrow is the most important. Even if you're frustrated by a lot of players like I am with Ekatike and Joao Pedro, that's the most important thing. Only 2 players left, but that should be enough to secure it, depending on where you are in terms of rank overall. But yeah, that looks quite good. I think one of those players will return. Probably not Thiago, though, given the way that he's playing. And Leeds Brentford looks like a 0-0. So not a bad prediction from me saying 1-1 if this continues. But yeah, maybe I look like a fool in the second half. I did a big mistake by transferring out Ndiaye last game instead of Rice. Yeah, but long term, I mean, Rice will likely double in 33. He's going to score more points than Ndiaye from now until the end of the season. Obviously, Ndiaye blanked against Arsenal. To be fair, so did Rice in that particular game. But yeah, he scored against Chelsea, brilliant goal. But Ndiaye doesn't really offer that high ceiling, which is why I told people not to captain him. I know a return's better than nothing. But yeah, Fernandes and Wilson were my top recommendations this week. Ndai is a good FPL asset, but I would argue Dewsbury Hall is better. And Garner has been very consistent in the midfield. And he's also cheaper, which is very important. But yeah, that's half time. What an absolute snooze fest. Just get me out of here. Absolutely terrible match so far. I'm glad I didn't watch all of it. Only moments of it, and that is more than enough, that's for sure. But I'll be watching the highlights after, and I'll be watching more in-depth analysis and, yeah, more coverage. But hopefully there's some goals in the second half to make it worthwhile because, yeah, that isn't particularly great. At least with the other matches that I watched earlier, there was something about them. Not this one. The worst match of the game week so far, and we are all hoping for something. At least from Igor Thiago, if you have him. Maybe some of you have Kelleher. Let me know if that's the case. Drop a like on the stream, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we are making progress towards 39k on YouTube. And in a couple of weeks' time, when we're back from the international break, that's going to be the aim, to reach that new goal and then push on towards 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. I have Thiago and Rodon. Wouldn't mind a 0-0. Yeah, for you, it would be better, actually, if Rodon keeps a clean sheet. Thiago has higher ownership, so in terms of rank, it would definitely benefit you if Rodon was able to secure it. So, yeah, definitely makes sense for you. I can't really say the same, though. I've got a template pick in Thiago, and I'm hoping he does something, but my hopes are dwindling by the minute, and so is my hope for the Premier League and football in general. One free transfer, Rice or Gordon first, please. I prefer Rice. I think he's the better FPL asset, and I know Gordon might double in 33, but the same goes for Declan Rice. I just think the Arsenal midfielder is far more consistent this season. He can get defcon. He's actually got over 300 this season and over 20 bonus points, whilst Anthony Gordon has done well in the last 2 matches, but he was more of a one-week punt for me. I bought him in for Declan Rice, but I've got the wildcard in my back pocket, and I could reverse that transfer very easily without losing any value whatsoever in the Arsenal midfielder. So yeah, that's my sort of take on it. But on the wildcard, I think both of them could feature, as you can see, in this particular squad. Let me see if I can actually find a way to afford Erling Haaland and this 50-man setup with my value, but I'm really struggling here with this. Hill, not even a big fan of him. Okay, I might try something a little bit different, actually. Just don't want any Chelsea defender. I really don't. That looks disgusting. Something I was thinking about, but then I'd want an Arsenal defender, so probably not. No, I don't think so. Let me see if I can work some magic. Yeah, it's very unlikely that Bournemouth get a double. If it is, it would be Newcastle away and Leeds at home. And that's where Hill would be quite interesting. Maybe Tavernier in the midfield or Krupi Jr. up front. But we all know his minutes are very insecure. It's just not looking great at the moment. Another Brighton player. I think 2's enough. I wouldn't go for a third. Even Welbeck is a push. Not a big fan of Van Heck anyway in isolation, but he could do a job on the wild card. But yeah, forcing in Erling Haaland's a bit of a problem with my team value. It's really, really, really big. Yeah. I would keep Bruno Fernandes still. There's no way I'm selling him. So yeah, I think reluctantly it would be Erling Haaland out again. That's looking so poor. I mean, that's where I just go for Bowen, but I wouldn't expect a double for him. And 5.7 million in the bank. It's like one extreme to the other. So it is what it is. Yeah, and that's where Hill could become Timber, Raya could then go to a different goalkeeper there who might offer better value. But yeah, that's kind of bleak, to be fair. I would want Erling Haaland. I know he's been pretty poor, but it's just a question of budget. So I will think about this over the coming days, and when I make the best wildcard team video in preparation for Gameweek 32, that's going to be quite insightful, and there might even be an updated version once we have the FA Cup results in the quarterfinals just before the Gameweek 32 deadline. Man City against Liverpool is definitely the match to watch, and even some upsets in the other games could be very impactful, like Southampton Arsenal. I triple captain Fernandes and also have better. Fair play. I mean, Fernandes with 13 points, that's very good in a blank game week, and in a week like this, yeah, a triple captain will go a long way. Also having better is massive. You know, that differential element of it, very low EO, effective ownership is very promising, but yeah, we'll see how the triple captaincies end up falling, because a lot of people would have done it in 26 on Gabriel, and he was very underwhelming there, only 7 points. I've still got it in my back pocket. Every single chip is available, but there's no guarantee, even in a double game week, which will likely be in 33 and 36, that I can even match the 13, but that's what I'm aiming for, as many points as possible, and I'd be very happy with 15 plus for sure. Even 13 I would take, but it all depends on the circumstances and the context, of course, but really nicely played. I'm assuming you got 60 plus points minimum, and that will be a very healthy green arrow for you. So yeah, a few good scores flying around in the chat, which is good to see. And yeah, I think it's, well, the Brentford Leeds game, the less said about that, the better. If you have any more questions or comments, be sure to let me know. And yeah, I will see you very soon, of course, for FPL and UCL fantasy content. There's going to be the transfer tips, the best wildcard squad, and my team selection for Gameweek 32. And for UCL fantasy, the best limitless and wildcard squads, my team selection, and of course more deadline streams from now until the end of the season. With reaction streams, I think they'll be saved mainly for the beginning of the next campaign for Fantasy Premier League. And yeah, if people want to see that being a regular feature on the channel, then show support, like, subscribe, hype, share, and all that good stuff. But it's always good talking to you, and we can continue the conversation on Discord. There is a link in the description. The same goes for Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Dylan RCM. Follow me on Patreon as well, and also with the channel memberships, so you can get early access to my videos, prior to comments, and many other perks. And the website is patreon.com/FPL Dylan. There is the join button on YouTube as well. So the last thing I'm going to show you actually is going to be my predicted lineups, because, well, you can see that I'm not faking it, if you will. With Aston Villa, someone asked me earlier, do you think Matty Cash will start? I have gone from here against West Ham at home. So Emi Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Mings, Luka Dean, Onana, Barkley, McGinn, Rogers, Buendia, and Watkins. So some of these numbers are not updated, but with Bournemouth, I got 10 out of 11 correct, of course. So the main difference here was Kruppi Jr. didn't start, and I highlighted him as a minutes risk. Instead, it was Adley. So that was a difference there. With Brentford, of course, Dango Ouattara is on the bench, so that's a massive blow there for the Dango owners, and I personally would sell him. I just don't like him as an FPL asset. Kelleher is having a good start to this game, of course. He could even get a save point and some bonus if Brentford keep the clean sheet. And Igor Thiago has 7 defcon, but I wouldn't hold your breath. I'm going to say that now. With Brighton Hove Albion, I got 11 out of 11 correct. That is very rare, and that now takes my total to 290 out of a possible 341 for the Seagulls. I think Twister Park will be very happy with that. That's for sure. With Burnley as well, not too shabby. I think I got 10 correct out of 11. So the main difference was Edwards out for Lau Foster, but the rest was fairly accurate. And with Chelsea, well, yeah, it's always difficult predicting their 11, but not too shabby. And with Everton, it was 11 out of 11 correct. Tarkowski did start despite the yellow flag alongside Michael Keane. So, yeah, Everton is definitely one of the more successful ones. With Fulham as well, I think there was 1 incorrect, if I'm not mistaken, possibly 2. So I will update these scores in preparation for the next deadline stream. And with Leeds United, I mean, they've been very stable with the starting 11s this season, and that's been the case in particular recently. But I did get 1 wrong here. Obviously, Nemecha is starting, so that was 1 incorrect one from me this time out. But still a very good output. 310 out of 341. I'll take that all day long. And then for Liverpool, of course, yeah. I think this was spot on as well. 11 out of 11 correct there, with Mamardashvili coming in for the injured Alisson Becker. And for Man United, Amad Diallo started over Benjamin Sesko. Mbuma's been off the boil now. 4 blanks in a row, and Bruno Fernandes is by far the best option. Maguire is obviously suspended now. And for Newcastle, we'll see how they end up lining up in the Tyneside derby tomorrow. But I've gone for Ramsdale, Livramento, Chow, Byrne and Hall. Tonali, who is yellow flagged. Joe Linton, Elanga, Ramsey, Barnes and Anthony Gordon. And with Nottingham Forest, in such a crucial game against Tottenham, Sells, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Williams, Sangari, Anderson, Hutchinson, Gibbs-White, Ndoye and Igor Jesus. With Tottenham Hotspur, they have shifted to a back four recently, so I've gone for Kinski because Vicario is set to have surgery. Pedro Porro, Romero, Van de Ven and Udogie. Pape Sarr, Gray, Colomwani, Xavi Simons, Tell and Richarlison. But I'm going to double check this quickly just to make sure. But that's the reports I read on Tottenham. So I'm fairly sure Kinski will start tomorrow. But maybe there's a mistake there. Because, yeah, Vicario obviously is very important to them. Yeah, I haven't seen anything else here. I mean, is it possible Vicario has the surgery after the game? Yeah, that one report says he's out for the season. So who even knows at this point, but that could be a massive blow for Tottenham. So to complete these predicted lineups, so for Sunderland, I've gone for Elborg, Hume, Ballard, Alderete, Renildo Mandava, who would return to the starting 11, Siddiqui, Xhaka, Talbi, Diarra. Lefay is doubtful, but I've put him in the starting 11 with Brobby leading the line. And the final team would be West Ham, so it's shorter than usual because we've only got 16 teams featuring this week with Arsenal, Man City, Crystal Palace and Wolves blanking. So Hermanson will be in goal for the Hammers, Todibo, Mavropanos and Disasi, Wan-Bissaka, Soucek, Fernandez, Diouf, Bowen, Pablo and Dati Castellanos. So that would be pretty much the full list. And yeah, we'll see how it ends up going. You're also going to see my predictions for those 4 blankers, of course, and how I did for Gameweek 30 in the next set of predictions for Gameweek 32 in that deadline stream. But that will be in a couple of weeks' time. We do have quite a break. The next deadline stream will be on the 7th of April for UCL Fantasy. That will be very interesting. And it's going to be a later one than usual, with the deadline being at 8 p.m. With the kickoff. So that's going to be a change now from the quarterfinals onwards. I mean, Champions League final could be a little bit different. I'll cover that in due course. And I'm obviously referring to UK times there. And let me just show you my brilliant FPL squad. It's absolutely amazing. You're going to be absolutely bamboozled by it, that's for sure. But let me know if there's any Tottenham fans in the house. Yeah, if Vicario is going to play or not. Very solid predictions. I mean, in terms of the scoreline predictions, I mean, a bit frustrating. I should have stuck with the original ones, especially Brighton, Liverpool. I did go for 2-1 there originally, but I made the mistake to change it. And then with the predicted lineups, yeah, they've been going fairly well. I think I average 88% in terms of success rate. And with certain teams, mainly Everton, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest and Leeds, I've done very well with them. Even with Arsenal, I'm quite happy with those predictions. But there are a few teams like Tottenham, Wolves, Chelsea, where I have struggled a little bit more with those particular clubs. And I think it's a bit more difficult to predict their 11s this season. Obviously with Wolves, for example, it's been a bit easier recently. But early in the campaign, they kept changing formation. And obviously they changed manager. That doesn't help too much. But yeah, it's always fun to predict them. And I sometimes make predicted lineups videos for Euro Fantasy, the World Cup, Club World Cup, also for FPL at the beginning of the campaign. So that's something you can look forward to at the beginning of next season. That's the plan. And there's a lot more content that's going to be headed your way. But thanks everyone for tuning in. If you haven't already, you know the drill by now. Subscribe. We are closing in on 39K on YouTube. Also, click the hype button, like, share, and all that good stuff. And follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, DylanRCM. Check all the links in the description. That includes my Discord server, my FPL Challenge Leagues, Spotify. Follow me on that platform, leave a 5-star review, and also check out my Patreon, which is patreon.com/FPLDylan. For likes to my videos and prioritize comments, many other perks are included, and you can also join by clicking the join button on YouTube. I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Enjoy the international break, and all the best of luck, for Blank Gameweek 31 and beyond. It's only been an hour, but my voice is completely gone at this point. I really like your predicted lineups. I really hope you continue to do it for World Cup Fantasy. Yeah, so I haven't confirmed yet if I'm covering the World Cup or not. I would love to. And if the demand is there, like it was for the previous World Cup, then I'd be more than open to covering it again. And also, yeah, the predicted lineups is very useful because some teams might not be as, let's say, known. Obviously, with some of these countries, you might not know who's going to start. And it's always good to do that research and analyze injuries, the probable 11s, and analyze the fixtures as well. That's what's very useful with those predicted lineups. But I do appreciate the kind words, Josh, and it's always good to see you. And thanks to everyone who has tuned in today. And I'll see you very soon, of course, for more FPL and use your fantasy content. If you want to see the World Cup covered as well, then drop a comment as well. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. It would be greatly appreciated. Take care, enjoy the football. Let's get those green arrows, win our mini leagues, and rise up the rankings. And let's end this season as strongly as possible.